I've actually finished it. It's actually done. Um, and I just wanted to do a quick video, essentially, breaking down what I did, what I could do better, what I actually ended up spending as well. Because these things, for some reason, the market on them has gone way, way high. And it's confusing because, well, it just is. So anyway, this is my 1970s Raleigh Chippy. I introduced this a couple of videos ago, and I've spent the last couple of months refurbishing it. I basically started doing it because my dad fell ill, and I needed to take my mind off the fact that he was in hospital. He did unfortunately end up passing, and I've spent the last few weeks just finishing this off, sorting out paperwork and stuff. So this was just something to take my mind off it. And it's come out really rather well. I'm very pleased with it. Now, the main issue that I've had was reassembly, because I decided in my infinite wisdom that I would use nuts and bolts instead of rivets, and I'm going to be fair, a couple of the parts were a bit of a faff. So there's a connection in there. That one was actually fairly easy because I could see what I was doing, but then this one just here into the seat, that I ended up having to drill a tiny hole in the bottom of the seat to get a spanner in, and then I was just working blind. So that wasn't fun. The mudguard was an absolute pig to paint. And then as I was reassembling it, the sissy bar basically scratched the paintwork on both sides. So, yeah, and then the little decals, and there's some places where the decals are lifting. So there's a couple of things I would do differently, and I may go back and revisit this at some stage. At the moment, I'm calling it done because it is pretty much finished. It's very nice. It's just going to be stuck in a corner looking pretty. But so a couple of things I would do differently. First off is the paintwork. I would probably give it another coat of red, and then I'd use a gloss lacquer. The lacquer that I did use, it normally is glossy, but for some reason it came out a relatively matte finish. You can't really tell in this lighting, but it's come out a fairly matte-ish finish. So I might revisit it at a later date and just redo it. It's now that the harder stuff, like the wheels, now that they're tidied up, the frame's actually fairly simple to just revisit and do again. And then with the decals, it comes as a big square piece. So what I would probably do, those ones are actually okay. They're not too bad in terms of the border, but these, you can see the PN's there and the border's there. So what I might do if I redo it is get another set of decals and actually trim it to the shape. So it's still one piece, but it'd be slightly closer to the shape, wouldn't have quite such a big outline, and it might make it fit slightly better. Also, these could probably do with being 5-10 mil further forward towards the headstock. But other than that, as I say, very pleased. And then what I would also do, as I say, I'd do a fresh coat of paint, but then I'd lacquer over the decals as well. So I'd paint it, then apply the decals, then put the gloss lacquer over the top. And as long as the decals don't react to the lacquer, then I think we'd be fine. Yeah, so there's just literally just picking faults again. That was annoying because it was where I was bolting it all back together, and then that shifted as I was doing it, and it went clunk, and I was like, I need to done it on both sides. If I had the equipment and the machinery and stuff, I would probably take the wheels apart altogether. They're pressed together, and these little holes here, this is where it sort of rolls itself around, so it's pressed. And then that I would probably, again, if I had the equipment, I would probably either chrome plate all the metalwork, so the bar and the wheels, or I'd probably just polish the bejesus out of it just so that it was really, really, really popped and it wasn't this slightly dullish paint. But other than that, as I say, very happy with it. Now we're going to do a quick price breakdown, essentially, because there's something that you need to see. But anyway, so for the actual bike itself, I took delivery of it back in, I think, July or something, and I caught it on eBay, and including postage, it cost me all of 40 quid, £40, basically. The decals, there's one place that I can find decals for this. They were £25, which for a full decal set for a bike, any bike, that's fairly reasonable, even if it is literally on 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's like 7 stickers, but at the same time, that's fairly reasonable for £25 with free shipping. The biggest expense on any sort of restoration like this is paint, because you've got 2 different colours, 3 different colours if you include the silver. Then you've got primer, and then you've got the 2 different colours of primer as well. So it was a red primer for the red frame, a white primer for the yellow bit. Now, primer averages about £5 a can, so that's £15 just in primer. You've got another £5 for the silver, because you can just use a generic silver. And then you've got the 2 colours. Now, I only needed a small can of the yellow, because it was only for the mudguard, so that was another £5. But the red, because it's the entire frame, I needed a slightly larger can. That was closer to £8 or £9. So do some quick maths. 3 cans of primer is 20. So that's the best part of like £40 just in paint. Yeah, and again, it chipped. So, I would have to get another can of the red and another can of a harder lacquer. So that's another £15 on top of that if I wanted this perfect. So we're already at the best part of £60 just in paint if I wanted this to be really good. The grip has got a tiny split in it, but it came like that. And the only way I could get that to look good again is to replace it. And that would probably mean buying another entire Chippy. So that's probably never going to happen. And then I was lucky that the only real hardware piece, other than the nuts and bolts, the only real hardware piece I had to find was a split pin for under there, because it didn't have a split pin originally. So that's pennies. So overall, I want to say, take into account buying the actual purchase price plus the paint and the stickers. I've easily put, I want to say I've put about £120 into it. And it's come out all right. And I got to be fair, this is one of the few times where I've put that amount of money into a bicycle and it's actually worked in my favour. So bear with, I want to show you something. All right, so quick sojourn into the computer. We'll go to eBay because that's there, and we will type in Raleigh Chippy. 2Ps, yeah. Okay, and we'll let that do its thing, and yeah. And that one, bizarrely, has got plastic wheels, which makes it a slightly later model. And also, for some reason, the rear bar's red. And it's a taller bar looking at it. But yeah, so that's £350. You got an incomplete one there that needs massive refurbishment, hasn't got the rear bar, for 70. And then there's that one which is also 70, but it's in London and it's collection only. And 200, 400, So for some reason, the market on the Chippies seems to have gone through the roof. You can still find a fairly reasonable one, if you're willing to travel for it. That, for me, would be a 3-hour drive, which would then be, I want to say, about £40 to £50 in petrol because of the return journey. So that just doesn't make it worth it. But to go from, as I say, I paid £40 for mine. That was sent to me as well. It was £20 for the trike, £20 shipping. And now they're worth silly money, And all of these, they do need refurbishment. I've got to be fair. They've all got little bits wrong with them. Mine's got a couple of little bits, but the paintwork in general is intact. So sometimes it can be worth, if you can find it for the right money, it can be worth picking up a little trike just to fix up. Other times, like with the Domino that I did, I put £150 into that in paint and wheels and stuff, and it's worth maybe £40. So you've got to pick and choose. I got lucky with this one. I just wanted to do a Chippy, and I found one, and I did it, and now it's essentially worth 10 times what I paid it for it. So, there we go. Right. Okay, that's short and sweet, and I will see you later. Ta-da now.